Have you ever been told to stay positive when you're facing something serious like cancer and that just didn't set right with you? In today's video, I talk about how positivity can have a hidden pattern that actually stops the healing process. And then I'll share an exercise where you can actually embody a different way to relate to what you're facing that doesn't ignore positivity and doesn't ignore negativity and creates real freedom instead. So today I want to talk about something that sounds simple and that is actually runs very deep in how people approach healing, and that is positive thinking. And before I'm done, I'm going to give you a little brief exercise that you can use, and something that helps you relate to positive thinking in a way that supports your healing instead of interfering with it. And yes, I do think that positive thinking is not always what it seems. And in some case, it actually interferes with healing. So, what do I mean by that? If you look at the structure of positive thinking, a positive thought implies a negative thought. It doesn't exist by itself. It's always a response to something else. So, if I'm trying to think positively, what kind of negativity am I responding to? Perhaps fear, perhaps a diagnosis, perhaps uncertainty or a negative thought. But the negativity and the positivity go together. Okay? It's like up and down and light and dark. By its nature, positive implies negative. And you see versions of this even in very powerful practices. For example, when people create a list of the things they want, the positive, very specific goals and dreams and desires that they have, it's important to notice that we only want what we don't have. All right? And even this positive list, and, positive visualizations, just like a standard with manifestation exercises. And, there's just so many versions of that. But just notice that this positive list is structurally linked to its absence. And that doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make it not powerful. I'm not saying not to be positive at all. It just means that we're still inside a polarity of positive and negative. And we might not be aware of it. And so, let's be aware of it. So, most people don't realize that they're not free when they're doing this. They think that the positivity will free them, and the negativity will trap them. But it's actually a loop. It's the same trap. Okay? So, we're kind of going like, what if it works? No, everything's fine. Oh, I'm going to die. Oh, I'm going to live. Oh, like back and forth and back and forth. This is serious. Stay positive. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. This is not freedom. This is not the healing freedom that's available to us. This is just oscillation. Okay? This version, the positive version, may feel better, but it's trapped in this structure. So how do we free it from that trap? Okay. So let's just talk about why both sides fail before how to free it. If you go too far into the positive side, you block information. You pretend that everything is fine, and you don't see ways to actually get to where you need to go. You stop seeing what's actually happening. You might delay decisions that could really make a difference because you're busy believing that everything is fine. And now if you go too far into the fear-based realism, quote-unquote realism, I think the positivity is just as real as the negativity, but what culture labels as you just got to get real, it's usually just fear-based. You collapse your system and you don't have access to all this positivity. You narrow your perception just into what the fear-based models tell you, and you lose access to all the possibility that otherwise you wouldn't have, that you don't have access to it when you're buried in fear. So both positive and negative thinking are forms of control. They are attempts to manage reality rather than be in contact with what's emerging from it, the freedom that's embedded in every single polarity of our existence. Is usually not accessed by taking sides. So there's a third position to stand in, though. And in a few minutes, I'm going to give us an exercise where you can actually experience this. But it's not in this is good or this is bad. It's right in the middle. That if there's a lemniscate, it's right where they cross. All right? It's in that center. And it's in that center where you have the happy vision and the not happy vision, and you're in the middle, and that's the center where you can perceive both without attaching to either one of them and identifying as either one of them completely. This is your place of power, this is your place of freedom. You're not choosing sides, you're holding the whole. You say, but I like this side. But that has its issues, right? Okay. There's something very specific that happens when you can actually hold both sides and be in the center. You're no longer pushed around by fear. You're no longer forcing yourself into optimism. And you're no longer trapped in reaction. You become free to respond. And that freedom is not about choosing the right thought. It's about no longer being controlled by either side of this polarity. When you can stay present with what's actually happening and still remain open to what's possible. If you're standing in the center, your system has access to more information, to more holistic information, to the whole picture, which is inherently more data, more things that can possibly be used for your healing journey. And when we stand in the center and just hold both sides, a new kind of intelligence can emerge. And it makes us access to a different kind of information, healing information. Sometimes it comes consciously, like we get a brilliant thought that we wouldn't have thought if it's there. But with energy healing, sometimes it just happens like the information field is no longer being filtered by your positive thinking, and it can just kind of penetrate and use all of its resources to heal. So why does this matter in healing? Because healing requires accurate perception. And if you filter out what's difficult, you lose data. If you collapse into what's difficult, you lose access to positive responses. So instead of trying to think positively, I'm going to show you something different. And hopefully it'll be really great. We're going to do this with our hands. So we're going to name the poles. So this is my left hand. I don't know how it's showing up on the video, but this is my left hand. And I'm going to call this the negative pole. And in here is worst case scenario. And I'd like you to kind of imagine the worst case scenario being held in your left hand. And try not to soften it. Just, it is what it is. Just let it be there. Might even feel a little heavy. All right. And now in your other hand, the positive polarity, place what you want to have happen. Your healing, the possibility, the support. And make that very real and hold it in your right hand. Okay, now feel the tension. And feel that both are real and true in your system. Okay. And now, knowing that they both have elements of truth to them, you honor that. And what we're going to do is we're going to symbolically bring your hands together. You're not choosing one over the other. You're just going to let them meet. And now I'd like you to bring what you've squished between your hands into your heart. Specifically, the back of your heart. And notice that I'm not asking you to put it in your head, not in your mind. Our minds are very good at making distinctions. They separate, they compare, they decide. They're really good at this polarity thing, and we're trying to put it into a non-dual place, a place where there's actually access to possibilities and integrations that just are not possible from a mind viewpoint or from a polarity viewpoint. And the heart can hold the whole picture without forcing a conclusion. And the heart can allow both realities to be present at the same time without collapse. And this is your sweet healing process. This is your beautiful life. Or the beautiful life of the person you care so much about, or the animal. Just put that into your heart and let it gestate in there in a non-cognitive way, but you put it in there so it is in there. So this is not about solving the contradiction. It's about increasing your capacity to hold it. And the quality of how you hold it matters. So this is a gesture of devotion. Not to an outcome, but to truth, to guidance, to freedom. And you're not ignoring what's difficult. And you're not forcing what's positive. You're allowing the whole situation to be held in a field of reverence that you contain in the back of your heart. Why the back? Because in the front of a heart you can kind of imagine, you can manage it, you can just be all lovey-dovey and sentimental. We're putting this into the deep heart of us that knows how to proceed, how to heal. And from there, something can reorganize that the mind alone cannot produce. But often this exercise will get you some mind things that will help you take some action. It's my experience that if we can put these contradictions in the back of our heart, even briefly, because it's pretty urgent, right? We got to solve the problem. We got to solve this duality. You're no longer reacting. You're no longer controlling. You're in contact. And in that place, and really only in that place, your next steps become clearer. And what comes to you has a place to be rather than just short-circuiting you. All right. I hope that helps. Let me know. And let's go into the more formal part of the guided visualization part of this healing. Although I feel like what we just did was pretty healing too. All right. So if you're watching this later on YouTube, we're going to do a guided visualization that you can join us for over at the Spirit Gate Cancer Support Facebook group. All right. Everybody's welcome to join.